Hey guys, welcome back to SuperCoach for 2022. It's finally here, the round one team reveal. So, what am I thinking of doing in round one? Well, if you followed the video I posted up about the rookies and not so much the quality of them, but just the quantity or lack thereof, it puts us in kind of uncharted territory for at least the first couple of rounds of 2022. So what I've had to do, and what a lot of other coaches I think are going to be doing, is playing more of a mid-price strategy. Okay, so picking some players that are a little bit more mid-priced. And hopefully that's going to help with the lack of rookies until we get some more rookies on the horizon. Then we can potentially do some restructuring as well. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. Here's my round one team. Okay, so for my D1 position, which is defender 1 position, I've gone with Jake Lloyd. Now, Jake Lloyd's nickname is the Seagull. He just gets things done. Picks up the footy like a seagull picking up chips, right? He's reliable, consistent, durable. And in a year when we have sort of bugger all rookies to play with, and we're going to have to make some speculative picks, you really want to be doubling down on the durable players. So Jake Lloyd for me is in D1. D2 is another guy in terms of durability and reliability. It's Jack Crisp from Collingwood. Now, I've never had Crisp in my SuperCoach side, but I think he's got a record at the moment, something like 4 or 5 years without missing a game. I could be wrong on that, but he's incredibly durable. So you're going to have him at D2. Moving on to D3, I have Jaden Short from Richmond. Now, without Basher Hooley, I think Short's going to be able to steal a few more points off some of the other defenders without Hooley taking his points. Again, very durable, very reliable, so he's in my D3 spot. So my Div 4 is Lachie Whitfield. Now, you may be thinking, Lachie Whitfield, wasn't he injured? Yes, he was. He had a pretty nasty injury early last year, 2021. So he missed half of last year, and then when he came back, he sort of wasn't his old self, which is understandable after the injury that he had. A fit Lachie Whitfield is certainly a no-brainer, and a fit Lachie Whitfield at this price is even more of a no-brainer, so I'm going to lock him in. So in terms of the rookies here, I've put, as a general caveat for the rest of my side, I'm going to say that these rookies are kind of placeholders until we exactly know 100% who's lining up round one. Now, there's every chance in the world that this video has been recorded on a Saturday, and with round one starting on Wednesday night, there's every chance that some of these rookies that I've picked may not even play. If that's the case, there could be a bit of a restructure happening. But for the moment, I'm putting them as placeholders, and I'm fairly confident in the ones that I've chosen will line up round one. So I have Hinge from Adelaide, and I have Paddy McCartan from Sydney. Moving into the midfield, let's start with my M1, Jack Macrae. I mean, he's just one of those guys, again, that gets it done every week. I think he had a record last year. I don't think he had a game under 30 touches last year. So if he can continue that form, his SuperCoach scoring is just going to continue at that consistent level. Yes, he is expensive, almost 700k, but he's one of those players that you get for what you pay for. Alright, so Jack Macrae in that wing position for the Bulldogs is locked in at M1 for me. Now M2, I've gone for a bit of a pod here. Now pod is obviously the point of difference, or a player of difference, so you pick a player that's not heavily owned. Now Tuke Miller, I've had him 2 years ago, and he was a pod even then. He had, I think it was a 1% ownership, which is just unbelievable. But I've picked him up, and he's going to be my M2. I think he's going to be one of the big movers this year. So my M3, I've gone Lachie Neale. Now, Brownlow medalist, the real heart of the Brisbane engine room, and again, discounted on, he was injured last year and didn't really rise to the levels that he did the year before. Fit Lachie Neale with the pre-season, you can't go too far wrong there. So I'm locking in Lachie Neale. So my M4, I've gone a bit of a speculative pick here with Matt Rowell from the Gold Coast. Again, the lack of rookies that we have is forcing us to look at things a little differently this year. Okay, so we have Matt Rowell in M4. Now, for those that don't know, Matt Rowell got picked up, pick number 1 a few years back. In the first 3 games that he played, it was 3 or 4 games he played before he injured his shoulder, he was on track to win the Rising Star. There was talk he was going to win the Brownlow. You know, he was scoring 140s and 150s. He came back last year, couldn't get to that height, but it appears in the community game and the practice game that he's finding the footy again. He's got that contested role, which is obviously SuperCoach Gold. So I'm putting in Matt Rowell in M4. Now M5, again, this guy, he burnt me 2 years in a row, and I've almost sworn off him. I was like, nah, never again. Put him in the Tom Rockcliffe category. Never again am I picking this guy. But rookies always determine our structure, and with a lack of rookies, we have to look for mid-price options. And with Sam Walsh missing the first bit of the season, it's potentially a good option to bring in Paddy Cripps. Adam Chera may be one that could steal points off him, but I think Paddy Cripps is a pretty safe pick if he can remain injury-free. That's the big if. Okay, so the first rookie I've chosen, essentially in M5, is Jason Horne-Francis from North. It was the number 1 pick. I'm not going to talk too much about this bloke, just get him in your seed. Get him in your team. Again, like Horne-Francis, Nick Dacos from Collingwood. This guy is probably $1.01 to win the Rising Star from all reports. He's an incredible talent, it looks like, and he looks ready to play AFL footy. So again, not going to talk too much about Nick Dacos, just put him in your team. The other one I've gone for is Ward from Hawthorn, who looked really good in the practice game. The only question mark on Ward as a viable pick long term is when Sam Mitchell and Jaeger O'Meara come back into the Hawthorn midfield. How is that going to affect things? We're not sure. Again, we don't have the luxury of 50 rookies to choose from, so if he scores, I think he's got 124 in his community series game. That's good enough for me. He's going straight in. Alright, so let's look at the Rucks. Now, I'm going the Gawn and Grundy combo. Set and forget. I've never bought into Sean Darcy. I'll have a look at him this year and potentially could start him next year if he goes really well. I've never bought into him as like you have to have him, as a lock, 100% must have. Again, I play SuperCoach quite conservatively. I'm going Gawn and Grundy. Okay, set and forget. And I think of it this way, it's 2 extra upgrades that I don't need to make through the year. If I win a Bruce or a Witts or, a Nat Nui or a Goldstein, there's potential that they'll get injured. And I'm going to be going up to one of these 2 guys anyway, Gawn or Grundy. So start them at the start of the year, set and forget, and then fingers crossed we don't have to worry about it. Okay, moving on to the forwards. So F1, I've got Josh Dunkley from the Bulldogs. Again, I think 99% of SuperCoaches will have Josh Dunkley in their team. The only concern with Dunkley would be the amount of pizza slices in the Bulldogs midfield that everyone wants to have a piece of. Bontempelli, Liberatore, Treloar, Dunkley, McRae, Bailey Smith. There's a fair few points to go around there, but I think the main 2 guys will be Dunkley and McRae, with Bontempelli on the side as well. Alright, so my F2 position, I've got Zach Butters from Port. Now, he was injured last year, but there's been big raps on him, and Ken Hinkley has said that he's going to play in the midfield, or he's going to get an inside mid role, or at least a midfield role with Port. So if that's the case, I'm going to be locking him in. Alright, number 3, F3, I've gone Stephen Caniglio from GWS. Now, heavily discounted through injury. Potentially the Jack Zeeble of 2022. Jack Zeeble last year was in the forward line. You could get him as a forward player, but he took in all the kick-ins. He played in the back line, but was a forward player in SuperCoach. And he and Aaron Hall just dominated all year. And obviously with North winning the wooden spoon, the ball was in their back line quite a bit. So there was plenty of opportunity for him to get a few touches. So I think Caniglio at that price, you just have to lock him in. Okay, so I've gone for another mid-pricer. Now this is Will Brodie from Freo. Don't know too much about him, but again, with lack of rookies, you have to think outside the box, think outside the square, whatever shape you want to call it. I think he's going to do well. The only potential concern with Brodie would be Fife going back into the middle, but again, Fife's kind of made of tissue paper, so there's always a chance that Fife's going to be injured and miss a few games. So again, at that price, I think he's only early 200,000. He's not too expensive, not much more expensive than like a Horne-Francis and Dacos. So you're not taking much of a risk there, but if he can continue on that form, I think he'll be a very good stepping stone to a primo forward once we work out who the primo forwards are going to be. Now, these next 2, you can consider these as placeholders. Okay, we've got De Koning from Geelong and Nick Martin from the Bombers. Now, as an Essendon supporter myself, I'm not sure where Martin fits in. Very impressed with him in the Community Series game against St Kilda. Don't know where he's going to fit in terms of our 22. Is he in the best 22? Don't know. So, again, they're placeholders for the moment until, the SuperCoach gods decide that, 2 of these rookies aren't even going to play round 1. Then it's, everyone's going to be scrambling and things like that to choose. Again, take these rookies, De Koning and Martin, with a grain of salt. But at this point in time, there's a fairly good chance that they will line up round 1. If Martin doesn't, I'd say there's a good chance he's going to line up round 2 or 3, and he could be a good loophole option for the early rounds of the season. Okay, so let's have a look at the defensive bench now. I've got Gibcus and Sin. So Gibcus from Richmond and Sin from Port Adelaide. Again, not 100% confirmed they're going to line up round 1. We won't know until essentially 10 minutes before the... No, just kidding. We won't find out until very short notice before round 1. So we kind of need to be with our eyes here and be on the alert for anything that happens. Obviously, stay tuned to this channel. If there's anything major breaking, I'll let you know. Probably going to put the emergency on Sin, I think, for Port Adelaide, but again, could put it on Gibcus. I'll just see how I'm feeling. On the bench in the midfield, I've got 2 Stevens. Now, they're not related. Dylan Stevens from Sydney. Then you've got M. Stevens. I also don't know whether he's from Geelong or Sydney. He's from one of the two. And McDonald from Hawthorn. Okay, so now the ruck bench at the moment, I've got that listed as Hayes from St Kilda. Now, I'm not sure whether I'm going to go him or whether I'm going to put in a floating donut for the year. It could be the second, third ruckman at Carlton or Collingwood, for example. A guy that's not going to play, you wouldn't think, and then use them as for the captain's loophole. So I could potentially, I'm thinking about doing that. The only problem with that, though, is if you have a potential like a Hayes who could make a lot of money, and you could just have that money sitting on the bench growing as the year goes on, and then that will allow you to fund an upgrade quicker. So it's kind of a balance you've got to get right between using the loophole to, loophole McRae's 150 that he gets, versus the money that you're going to make 6 to 8 weeks by holding a good R3, for example. Then you can obviously use it for your upgrades. So it's something to think about. I think I'll probably start Hayes, but if there's any way that I want to go the loophole, I might ditch him. But again, we'll see. And I've got Rochelle from Adelaide and McKenty from Port Adelaide. Bit of a South Australian theme there. Apparently, McKenty is being touted as a round 1 start. I think it was either Tom Jonas or it might have even been Rockcliffe that said that he's a very good chance to start up round 1. So I think I'm going to put the E on Rochelle. But again, that could definitely change by Wednesday. All right. So there it is, my team 1, or round 1, team reveal. Let me know in the comments who you're picking, and if you want any more guidance or any help, just let me know, and good luck for round 1. Talk to you soon, guys.